I was like, holy crap, I made my goal. Hi, this is Dena with Left Lane Finds. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about goals, specifically my goals around my reselling, my trading, and YouTube. So I'm going to get into it, and this is just going to be a talking video, so it's completely out of the realm of all my other types of videos that I do. So this may or may not be for you, but I thought it's good to get your goals out there. When you verbalize goals, it tends to help you to work towards your goals. It also makes me accountable to all you guys out there if you know what my goals are. I have made some notes here, and so I might be reading a little bit. So I'm going to start with my reselling goals. When I first started reselling, or I should say before I started reselling, I was at my friend Sherry's house, and you guys have heard this story before. And she had been a reseller for a long time and had been telling me all along how much money she was making. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. And I always thought it was a really cool thing to do. She always did it like part-time. She always worked full-time. And then one day I was at her house and her auctions on eBay went off, and it was like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I mean, it was multiple things that had been bid on, and that, people were winning, and that she was going to make money on and ship out the next day. I was like, wow, like that's a lot. And then she was showing me how much she was getting for the items and told me how much she paid for the items. And that's when I had my first epiphany. I was like, tell me everything. And so she started telling me about more in depth about the reselling, and that's when I became a reseller. And I have been doing it part-time ever since. It's roughly 7 years now. So the first time I started reselling, I started with flipping furniture though. And then I started to slowly, add things to eBay. And I also, with the flipping furniture, I was selling it locally to the Facebook yard sale sites. And the first year I started in June. So the first year I ever did any type of profit, I made roughly $1,500. And I thought, wow. And that was like not putting a lot of effort into it. I was like, an extra $1,500. That's, that's a vacation, or that's a ski trip. For me, I put everything in terms of ski trips, because that's one of my things that I always talk about, that the reason I resell is to pay for my ski trips. And I'm like, that pays for my, my big week-long ski trip somewhere special. So I was like, okay, the next year I'm gonna try to double that dollar amount. Well, every year since I said that, I have only ever made around that $1,200 to $1,500, because I have had to put my shops on hold because of like all kinds of life events, or I don't know, all kinds of things were happening. Oh, we decided we're going to downsize our house. Oh, I have to get rid of my inventory. I have to, we decided not to live in Pennsylvania. We're moving to Michigan. There was just one thing after another. And I did, continue to resell. I stopped reselling the furniture, I was making a lot of money, on that. And so I stopped flipping furniture, and I was just focusing on things that I could easily ship, like clothes. So I was doing like clothes, and and I was selling that on eBay and Poshmark. So that went on forever. But my goal is to double. So here's where you're going to hold me accountable. My goal is to double my, sales. So I was like, okay, if I made 1,500, I want to make 3,000. And if I make 3,000, then I want to double that to 6,000, and so forth and so on. So my goal is to make over $3,000 this year. And I think I'm pretty much on track to do that. I'm not sure. I have to put some more of my solds into my spreadsheet and see where I'm at. But at the end of the year, or maybe in January, I'll tell you like where I ended up. I had to get a quick drink of water. I realized that I drank only coffee this morning, and I'm doing a lot of talking and it makes my mouth get dry, so I had to stop to get a drink of water. So another goal, and I'm going to look down here. So another goal for my reselling is to try to sell like 30 plus items, a month. And that will then feed into me making my sales goal, my actual, and the goal, when I say $3,000, I mean in just profit. That's, so I'm looking for just the profit number of $3,000. And a lot of you guys are like, what? That's not a lot of money. Well, it is. If you're working full time and your boss came up to you one day and said, I'm going to give you an extra $3,000 a year, you would be ecstatic. So it doesn't sound like a lot when you're like, oh, you're not a successful reseller. And I'm like, I am extremely part-time. And I am not trying to, be like some of the other resellers. I like being part-time. I like being able to stop and start. I like to, kind of have my own schedule and not be so tied down to this business. So my goal is to never become full-time, and that will always be my goal. I just want to be able to, if I want to take a break from this, that I'm going to shut down my shops or shut down a couple of them and only run one of them or whatever. That is kind of like my goal. I don't want to be 100% tied down to this being my sole income. In fact, I want to have multiple income streams. So that's another thing that plays into all this as to why I only do this part-time. I do want to make more money at it, for sure. I do want to grow my businesses. So another goal I have is to always keep or continue to keep at least 50 items in my Etsy shop. Now, I know plenty of resellers out there that have 500, 1,000, sometimes 2,000 items in their Etsy shops. I only have around 50. Every time I get up to that number, I sell items and then it drops back down. Then I have to add a few more items. And and because I sell everything, I'm not just looking for just vintage. I'm not in one niche. I sell everything. So there's times when I'm out there, I'm buying shoes, clothing, pocketbooks, jewelry, belts, that kind of thing. So when I'm busy listing those items, I'm not listing anything in my Etsy shop. So anyways, that's another goal. So my goals are $3,000, trying to sell like 30 items a month, which I know I'm not anywhere near the 30 items a month, or I'd be making, I think, more than $3,000 a year. And then what was my third goal? Oh, keeping 50 items or more in my Etsy shop. So that is my goals around reselling. As I've mentioned a few times in different videos, I am also a stock trader. I'm not day trading at all. I don't do that either. I have some, where I buy and hold for long term. Like I just like to collect the dividends on it. But there are times where I like to, make trades and things like that. And I've been, active in the stock market for well over a decade. And I am not giving stock advice. This is not advice to anybody. I am not licensed to give advice. This is just what I do personally, or, my thoughts around it personally. So this is definitely not something that you want to go run off and do based off hearing me talk about it. I would suggest somebody, contact a financial advisor, or, basically spend a lot more time educating yourself before you go out, and try to trade any types of stocks. It is risky, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose money. And so just want to preface that. Well, anyways, in the midst of me doing like my normal, stock trading, I had been playing a game called Bejeweled on my phone, and I play it. It relaxes my mind, and I used to play it a lot. And you have to, and it's in 1 minute you have to do all these moves, and as you do your combinations, you get more points or whatever you want to call it, you know, and you're trying to build your score up for that particular game. And in 1 minute or less, that's why I like the game, because it was 1 minute or less. I could play it, you know, randomly at any time. And so I used to play it a lot. And I played it a lot. I mean, just constantly all day long. And one time I had like an epiphany while I was playing it. I was like, hey, I do these moves and I make, you know, sometimes the move you get 300 points, 500 points, 1,500 points. Sometimes you get more or whatever. And at the end of that 1 minute, all those little moves added up to 13,000, you know, points. And I was like, dang, if that was dollars, I'd be ecstatic. If I made an extra $13,000, I would be over the moon if I could, you know. Now, granted, I was already working full-time, part-time, you know, at some point, you know, and when I was playing Bejeweled, I think it was before reselling and I was playing it after I started reselling. So the epiphany is you can make small moves and those small moves add up to make a lot, like number-wise. I was just looking at the pure numbers and I was like, huh, you know, if I bought a stock and I made $300 on it, I would be happy. I'm like, I'm happy with buying and selling something and making $300. I'm more happy if I make $500 or $1,700. But over a year, if I did a lot of moves and I made 13,000, I'd be ecstatic about that. So I actually told my financial advisor about that some of what I wanted to do with some of the money that I had in my account was to make smaller moves. I had certain things that I have, you know, long-term goals on. I'm holding long-term. I have different goals around it, or it's just a growth, you know, growth strategy or whatever, where you just buy it and hold it forever and then you sell it later. And so I told him about Bejeweled, that I was going to make stock purchases based off of a game I was playing on my phone. He thought I was crazy. And I explained to him about how these small moves add up to 13,000. And he's like, okay. Well, I got that number stuck in my head as a goal. I thought about that number every day. And that's where it comes around to, you have to create a goal in order to think about it. And when you think about it, then you tend to work on that goal, or your mind works on it without you even thinking about it. It's constantly thinking about that. So after we moved to Michigan, and it's still in our bedroom. In our bedroom, there was a whiteboard stuck to the wall, and it had those erasable markers and things like that. And it was magnetic, where I could hang. So I hung some magnet clips there, and I clipped, you know, a piece of paper there. Oh, you know what? I have that. Hold on. Let me reach over and get the piece of paper. So it was like, you know, a memo that you could do, like your shopping list or whatever. So it was hanging up. And so I started doing all my, you know, little trades. I was buying and selling, and I would write down, you know, like the symbol of the stock and then how much I made on it. And then when I sold the next one, I'd write down that one, and I'd add it up, and I kept a running tally on that. Well, I wasn't really tracking it at all. It's just like every time something would pop, you know, because, you know, they would pop at random times throughout the year. Well, guess what? At the end of that year, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that number. I don't know if it's going to, well, it's not going to focus if I have my face in there. But at the bottom number, let's see here, where is it? Right over here in this corner, I made $13,421.66. I was like, holy crap, I made my goal. I was like, I need higher goals. I was so happy about this. It's funny how, and let me look at some of these trades. Some of these trades, I made high dollar amounts on, like $3,100. Another one I made like $415. One I made $94. So I was making all different dollar amounts. But as the year went on, it added up to the 13,000 and I made my goal. Now that was a few years back now. But I just thought I'd bring that up as an example that, as we all know, if you write down your goals, or even if they're not written down, if you talk to someone about them, or if you think about them every day, just constantly like, oh man, I really hope to make so much, you know. And this can be for anything, for your job, for your reselling business, for any other goal that, you know, you have. So the other thing, oh, so I decided that we can create this really lofty goal, and I called up my financial advisor and I told him, I said, I want to do a trade where I make $80,000. And he said, me too. I thought that was pretty funny. We had a good laugh over it. Well, I actually had multiple opportunities, like when the market pulled back in 2020, I had multiple opportunities to make that goal, even on one trade or a couple trades. And dummy me, I got scared. I was like, not scared, but I had bought something and the stock price, you know, when it was low, sold it when it was high. I made what I thought was fantastic profit. However, right after I sold it, it took off and I could have made a lot more money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I lost out on the extra profit. That's the other thing you have a lot with reselling or trading. You have FOMO, fear of missing out. And you just have to get over that. I'm like, you know what? I took those profits, I bought something else, and I'll make profit on those things too. And, you know, maybe at the end of the day, I didn't make 80 grand, but man, I look back on it now and I did some calculations, you know, hindsight being 2020, and I could have definitely made my goal. But I chickened out on, you know, I was like, oh, if I don't sell it now, it's gonna trade down and I'm gonna miss my opportunity to take in all this profit or whatever. Well, anyways, so that's like, you know, my goals around trading. Of course, that's not, you know, so I have this lofty goal. Whether or not I ever make it, I have no idea. But I'd be happy if I made another 13 grand. That would be fun. But actually, what happened was I had a lot of trades sitting out there. And in the beginning of this year, 2021, in January, a bunch of my trades popped. And I made like $20,000. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that's when I was like, oh, maybe I can make 80 for this year. I didn't. I'm not going to, like, the trades that I actually made don't come anywhere near 80,000. But I'm like, 1 year, I'm going to do it. That's my goal. So I'm going to keep working at it and looking for opportunities, you know, and try to make that, you know, it's just something like, I heard one time that a guy one time wanted a particular salary for his job or his career. So he wrote that salary that he wanted on a piece of paper and he put it in his shoe and he walked around on that. So he walked on that. So it was like a daily reminder that his goal was to make a certain salary at his job. And I think that's really, really important. Now, not to make this all too long-winded, let's move on to YouTube. So my goals around YouTube, which you guys already know, is to make, you know, or have 1,000 subs. Everybody makes that as their goal when you're a small channel. You know, at first I was like, oh, I want to have 100 subs, and, you know, and now I want, you know, then I want 200 subscribers. Well, now I want 1,000 subscribers, and I've been slowly growing. And in order to do that, I made another goal for myself, which is 100 videos in 100 days. And so I started that on November 2nd, and I'm going to give you guys updates when I hit the 50-day goal and then, you know, the 100-day goal. And if this works out well, you know, I might try to put out daily content. Now, some of the content might just be a short. I also do collabs, and I do my long format videos like this one. Of course, I have my solds, my listings, shop with me. Now that everything's back opened up, I'm going to try to get out there and do a little bit more of the, you know, thrift along with me type videos. And then I have my haul videos. So that's kind of like the goals around my YouTube channel. And I'm looking to see if there's anything else. Nope. That's all my goals and everything I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm going to leave you with this last little bit of information is don't compare yourself or compete with others. You can use them as inspiration. You can be like, wow, that, person has, this many, subs on YouTube, or this person has, makes so much money reselling or whatever, or this person makes so much money trading or whatever. You can use them as inspiration or to learn from, but never compare yourself to them, if that makes sense. And don't compete with them unless it's a healthy competition, Um, so yeah, that's my last words of advice around that. So I hope you guys kind of hold me accountable. I'll let you know if I meet my goals or when I meet my goals. Some of them are more lofty than others, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Put any comments down below, and I'll catch you guys later.